Welcome to Across the Desk, where we discuss entrepreneurship, small business, and everything in between. Welcome to Across the Desk. And I know I say that in my opening, but I always feel like I should say it again.
Absolutely.
So welcome. I'm here with Doug Osborne. You have to say something.
Good day, Elizabeth.
Doug and I are working through a series of podcasts, so hopefully this is number 3 that you've heard. And Doug has written some fantastic articles that provide some really good, I want to say basic strategy, but they're not, because they're points that people...
It's just practical stuff.
Well, you'd think they'd think of it, but they don't. And I've even read these through a couple of times and go, oh yeah, look at that. And I've been in business for a little bit now. So today we're continuing on the conversation, because all of these have been about a strategy of some form or another. But today we're talking about reducing the churn. And the image that you and I talked about, the image that this brought for me was a motorboat's propeller and the junk that spews out the back. That's not what this is about. So tell me about reducing the churn in a business.
Business churn is just non-productive activity. That's really how I would describe it. And talking water, it's creating commotion in water and not really going anyplace.
Right.
Same with business. I wrote the article and suggestions on how to reduce the churn, because I saw so many. I continue to see so many businesses that are just mired in detail. They're it's just swallowing them up.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I find is you start talking strategy and you start talking potential of business and whatever, and it almost lifts them out of the churn, out of the mud, that they've been stuck in.
Right.
And it gets, it lightens the load. But there's, when I started thinking about churn and what's sort of holding businesses back, churn is huge for a lot of businesses, because we don't even recognize we're in it. It's just, it can be like quicksand sometimes, that it just starts slowing you down, because, it just seems everything's piling up on you in the whole bit. And so, you start talking strategy and you start seeing clear blue sky. You start seeing, potential, and you're moving away from the dock. Yeah, you're starting to create some movement in your business. And it's, every business is limited with resources, whether it's time, whether it's money, whether it's resources, whatever. People. We gotta find ways to use it efficiently and effectively. And, spending time on non-productive stuff, we don't have time for that. We don't have the resources for that.
Not if you want to move forward.
No. And so I keep running into this time and time again. It's first of all, people, business is not even necessarily having a clear vision of where they want to take the business.
Do you think that's what sort of starts the churn?
It starts getting you out of the churn.
No, if you don't have that, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, if you don't know, if you don't have a clear direction, then you can go around in circles.
Right.
If you don't know what's mission critical to getting you to whatever destination you choose, wherever you want to take the business, and you keep getting mired in the details, you'll never go anyplace. Right. Or it's just so arduous, and so. One of the questions I'll ask is, okay, is this important? Is this really contributing to the destination you've created for your business, right? What you want it to look like? And if it isn't, then why are we working on it? Like, let's choose something that is going to be, is going to create high impact to get the business where it wants to go.
See, that leads me, both of those statements lead me back to the other 2 articles that we've discussed, because in the mojo phase, there's 2 ways. You can have a 30,000 foot view where you can see the end product, but I think the excitement phase can also start to generate those details that start to bog you down. And then the second one that we discussed was the strategic build buddy. And you just said something really important there, which was that clear, crisp question: is this important? As simple as that. And going back to your other article of the strategic build buddy, I think that would be a key phrase to pull into your conversation every week.
Yeah.
Is this important?
No, absolutely. Because if it's not important, it's churn.
Yeah.
Or it's a distraction.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest issues that businesses have today is distraction.
They're
They're preoccupied with the churn and
the phones and the emails and the
And so, I mean, I wanted to park out there, what the opportunity. First of all, recognize it for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And, are you working on stuff that isn't really meaningfully moving your business forward in the direction you want? I mean, everybody can get buried in the day-to-day stuff, but that's not strategy, and that's not moving your business forward. That's just maintaining your business. But moving your business forward means that you're paying attention to, the high-impact stuff that's actually going to get the business to a new place.
Right.
Whether it's growth, whether it's changing or pivoting the business, whether it's positioning it for sale or whatever. But you got to move the business forward, and most of the time it's churn that's going to slow you down or even bog you down.
Right.
So it was about getting out there, recognizing what churn is, and then how do you reduce it?
So what would you give us some? So people haven't had a chance, for an example, to contact and connect with their strategic build buddy who can ask them this important question.
Yeah.
What would you identify as, say, 4 pieces of churn? Not pieces, that's not the right word, but
Well, I would, recognizing what the churn is, I'd rather turn that around and say, okay, so how do you reduce it? How do you reduce the churn? So,
but how do you identify it? Right?
Yeah, as we say, it's making sure that you have a well thought out destination for the business. So
right.
Because that's going to bring clarity, so that you almost have a beacon that you're, this path that you're going on. And so it gives you something to compare against. So if an opportunity comes or if you're working on something, you can say, okay, is this aligned with where I want to take the business? Mm-hmm. If it isn't, then it's churn.
So it could be anything from networking opportunities to people approaching you for partnerships.
How many people approach you and say, let's go out for coffee?
Oh, my Atlanta.
Okay, so the question is, well, who do you want to go out for coffee with?
Yeah.
Because everybody, they want to network, but the question is it creating churn or is it actually moving your business forward?
Yeah.
And I think, the answer to most of those.
It took me a little while to
Exactly.
distinguish the two. So
yeah.
I wish I'd known this then.
But it's also about constantly asking yourself, okay, am I working on, or are my people working on things that are most important to the business? Mm-hmm. Do I even know what those priorities are?
Right.
Okay.
So we had a bit of phonus interruptus, which is the one of those things. But so to pick up, it was identifying the priorities to move the business forward and go.
Yeah. I think we were talking about, are we working on the priorities of the business that are going to move the business forward towards wherever we want to take it? But it's also about making sure that we aren't starting and stopping stuff. I mean, it takes energy, to rev a project up or initiative or spend time on stuff, and then we shut it down and we try and restart it again, and or we get distracted into other things
because of phonus interruptus.
Absolutely, or different opportunities that again, are they aligned with where we're taking the business, or are they distractions?
Yeah.
Because distractions are churn, even if they're opportunities. If we never finish everything we start,
yeah,
we're never going to get the business forward.
It's return on investment for that as well.
Well, I just found that there were so many businesses that were just stuck in the mud, and a lot of it was they're spending so much time on little details, on that frankly weren't important.
Yeah.
Like let's just get this done, and what's the easiest and quickest way to do that?
Yeah.
And move the business forward. So. But it's also about making sure that that action is on the right priorities, is sustained. So the other thing we all know, and particularly the biggest challenge with a lot of execution of strategy, is people start with the best of intentions.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, we're going to take on the world, and we're going to accomplish this and this and this, and whether it's a buckshot approach or whatever, but it's about getting focused. And it's about getting focused on the right things, the high priority things. And it's about turning away the churn, the less productive stuff, and for yourself, but also for the business, for your people. Mm-hmm. And so, I look at some businesses and say, they don't deserve to be where they're at. And I say that in the context of they deserve to be further along their growth path. But because they're working so hard, and they're like the heart's in the right place, best of intentions, all this stuff, but they're stuck.
Churning. Yeah.
They're stuck, and it's and so quite often it's quite often our first discussion is, okay, so what's holding you back?
Yeah,
and it's churn. It's always churn.
We're going to pull it back. So this part of what Doug's talking about, and he's expanding on it, which is fantastic, is the article that he has on the website. But you have a great quote in here that I want you to...
Yeah, the earlier you clarify the mission critical elements that are essential to achieving your strategy, the faster you can focus on your actions on the biggest impact priorities. So it's once you know it's mission critical, then it becomes obvious what the issues are that you have to address. And typically, moving a business forward means you're removing barriers that have been holding you back, or you're leveraging opportunities that you haven't tapped into yet. And the longer you're into the churn, the less time you'll have to capitalize on both those opportunities.
Which is what you need.
Absolutely.
Which is what you need.
Yep.
So we're going to wrap up. So this is fantastic. And I know I get caught in the churn myself. And being a solopreneur, it's hard to sometimes see that. So like I say, the other two articles that Doug's written and the other two podcasts we've done help you identify some tools to help reduce this churn. The strategic build buddy being the best thing that I've heard of in a long time. So I hope you have a listen. I hope you've learned. Leave a comment. Let me know if you have learned something out of this and if you end up putting this into action. And we'll talk to you soon, Doug.
Thanks, Elizabeth. It's a great discussion. Day.